Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to this narration of the web novel Solo Apocalypse, taken from Royal Road. If you're new to the series, there is a playlist listed in the description, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. Chapter 25. I woke up in the Solo Sanctuary, coming to consciousness in the most peaceful manner I'd ever woken to in weeks. Relax, splayed across my couch. I was fairly certain I'd been snoring. A miracle, considering how paranoid I'd been. This place truly is a sanctuary, I said, sighing as I stood up. It was time to go. If that increasingly burdened part of my soul was anything to go by, the ethereal feeling that I couldn't truly trace with anything but the skill itself. I couldn't pinpoint the exact length of time I spent inside, but it was enough for a night of a deep sleep and then some. Reluctantly, I took 3 steps away from the couch, and sanctuary blurred away, reality reasserting itself. And there I stood, right where I'd left, overlooking the arrangement of campfires that some people had attributed tentative nicknames to. That strain on my being immediately faded. Near me, Third was still close where I left him, watching over the encampment of survivors, refugees from an old world. I stared at him, curious, wondering if I looked as Rickson had. Third gazed down below with calm green eyes, roaming over the whole clearing, eyeing the positions of 3 other clones currently present. He could see across the distance with surprising clarity. Second was by the dungeon. 4th and 5th were shadowing him, trying to figure out how to use telepathy. I regarded myself. With the boost to wisdom, willpower, and charisma, their total rose to 85. It meant I was 5 off of increasing the maximum number of copies of Never Alone. After all this time, I was still hesitating on using my stat points. They were an extremely precious resource, as they represented immediate incremental increase to any aspect of myself I ever found lacking. A scarce one, too, seeing as only one is given every level. I wasn't a fool to think that just because I'd been so blessed, it made these points worth anything less. The truth was, I still barely knew anything about this new reality. Sure, these points could bump an attribute now, but as seen with Never Alone, they could potentially mean something more. Because of my title and item, I could hoard what I already had with relatively minimal risk. That spoke to some part of me, the one that had adapted and changed along with the world. In this manner, at least, I could be prepared to adjust immediately. Name, Evan Winst. Level 23. Title, Trailblazing Vanquisher of the Hive Mind. Class Solo. Strength 16, Constitution 17, Dexterity 15, Agility 16, Perception 19, Intelligence 20 plus 5, Wisdom 27 plus 5, Willpower 29 plus 5, Charisma 14 plus 5, Luck 14. Stat points 18. Skills, Never Alone, Low Profile, Solo's Instinct, Solo Sanctuary, Telepathy. Regarding that strange knowledge of myself was like looking at my being quantitated, with titles and skills indicative of any outstanding qualities beyond those obvious in attributes. Objectively, I was someone with experience operating solo and gathering information undetected. Subjectively, I was a man trying to acclimate, a survivor no different than the rest, as much a stranger to this new world as anyone else, lost, homeless, and thrust into danger and unknown. Leveraging every tool I could. Skill, Never Alone. Even working alone, it never hurts to have another set of eyes. Better yet, when they're yours, you are able to replicate yourself to a certain degree and capacity. Max copies. Wisdom plus willpower plus charisma divided by 10 plus Ring of the Hive Mind equals 9. Copies have halved strength, constitution, dexterity, and agility. All other attributes are retained. 6th, 7th, and 8th and 9th greeted me, a wave and a nod. A pat on the back, simple acknowledgement. All the ways I might greet myself. 9 clones, 10 Evans. I couldn't produce a copy from another copy, unfortunately. It was an extremely limiting aspect of Never Alone, given its scope, but I suppose it was only fair. It was the first thing I had tried. But I paid attention to the cloning process this time, not ever having the opportunity to really test it before. The clones kept my clothes and appearance, perfect copies of myself, yet the things I had on me weren't necessarily translated. My spider silk backpack stayed present only on the original. Arbitrary objects I held during the process didn't copy over. I tested a few things, holding rocks, sticks, and other random items. My phone, which I had kept, had still had no signal. Every clone came out as only plain old me, without any accessories beyond my clothes. I suppose that had to do with the phrasing to a certain degree and capacity in the skill description. A limit on replication. And what exactly happened to my clones when they died? The thought brought back dark memories, though I couldn't remember returning to confirm a body or not. I create the clones from basically nothing. Do they return to nothing? I stared at Ninth, trying to dismiss him, and found nothing forthcoming. Even when the clone himself tried to will it. Instead, the process reversed, where before I stepped away from myself, a copy of my individualism retaining my mind, walking away from my original, the copy stepped into me, returning to the originator. The sensation was oddly familiar as I reabsorbed my clones, looking towards the sleepy wood. As Second had just discovered, it had to be the original Evan to enter the dungeon. Clones were barred. It left me with a certain choice I was bound to face eventually. The question of whether or not there was a reason to stay relatively anonymous, if there was merit to revealing my skills, and if doing so put me in any danger or gained me any benefit. I wondered how much wisdom and intelligence affected my reasoning. Recurring social patterns were somehow apparent to me, sifting through my memories. Historical precedent of prominent figures and those around them, even present in my everyday. Jealousy, envy, awe, friendship, opportunity. I'd attract all that and more. To reveal myself would be declaring an ability to help everyone. My mental attributes cursed me with a sense of what would happen. I didn't want to be shackled to the greater good, burdened with a responsibility like that. I'd never have a moment to myself. I wasn't heartless, but neither was I noble. I valued my independence more than the greater good, a selfish take, no doubt, but a necessary one considering the apocalypse. It was hard to feel bad about that when I felt so crucial to surviving. This new world, it was terrible, dangerous, and every moment was one I could die. But, looking back, for me, had the old world been any different? Here, at least, I was free. I thought maybe that was why I was a solo, not because I'd been alone in my old life, but because I'd always dreamed of liberty. And now I had it. Unshakable independence, to be someone more than what I was. It was a small, inconsequential revelation, yet it resounded deep enough that I looked at my hands, pondering the wisdom attribute. With it, I felt more grounded, the confusing tangle of emotion I carried with my whole life finally unfurling as I regarded them. It was like I could breathe again, not realizing I'd ever stopped. More sure of myself, I made my way to Sleepywood, reabsorbing my clones. It was the first time in a while that my original self could be in direct danger. The notion went against my entire approach to the apocalypse. And although the nature of the dungeon demanded my presence, nothing demanded that I enter. And yet, I needed to know, firsthand, the mysterious reality of this world, the unknown nature the system people had taken to calling it, whether wonder or danger. I wanted to see what the world had come to. End of chapter. I would quickly like to thank the Tier 5 members, Marky, Cam Maxwell, Casper Arnholtz, Oakfield, Lord Azrakul, and It's Difficult to Pronounce. Thank you very much.